Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my random thoughts on Thursdays. And this week I want to touch on the topic of ending BiErasure. Alright, so the reason I want to talk about this topic, recently one of my favorite YouTubers, and a fairly well-known one at that, Shane Dawson, came out as bisexual, and I have watched a number of reaction videos and read the comments in his video and everything, and what really struck me was, number one, overwhelmingly positive comments for his coming out as bisexual, which I thought was really good, but not entirely positive. There's always going to be some people out there that are going to be negative about these kind of things, which, I guess that's just part of human nature. But what bugs me are the people who are saying, no, you can't be bi. If you like boys, you're gay, period. There's no compromise. There's no gray area for them. Even though he was very smart to include the discussion of what's known as the Kinsey scale, or the fact that sexuality actually falls on a spectrum. And just for those of you who don't know what the Kinsey scale is, it comes from Alfred Kinsey, I think was his name, and he had these wonderful groundbreaking studies back in the 40s and 50s, and wrote these, the conclusions of them. I think it was like sexuality of men, sexuality of women. Those aren't the exact titles, but those were the topics of the studies, and he actually personally interviewed thousands and thousands of people and had a very, very rigorous way of doing his studies so that he had the most accurate and scientific results and everything. There's been some criticism because he did interview even child molesters and that kind of thing, and he didn't report them, but in order to preserve the integrity of the study, he couldn't. And there's an ethical line there, that an ethical gray area, as it were. But let's not get into that. Let's talk about just what his study revealed, and was the sexuality spectrum, the fact that that people aren't just straight or gay, that they aren't just heterosexual or homosexual, that there's this whole variety, this whole blending in between there. And so if you're on the one side, so let's say you're at the zero end of the spectrum, that means that you are completely straight, you're heterosexual, you are only attracted to people of the opposite sex. You are a man, you like women, you're a woman, you like men, period. That's what a zero is. If you're on the sixth end of the scale, it means that you are completely homosexual, that you're gay, that if you're a man, you only are attracted to men, woman, you're only attracted to women. So those are the two ends of the scale, but there's 1 through 5 in the middle. With, I think, let's see, so if you're 1, 2, or 3, so if you're a 1 or a 2, you're leaning more towards the straight side of bisexual. If you're a 4 or a 5, you're leaning more towards the gay side of the spectrum. If you're a 3, you're right smack dab in the middle, and you kind of like men or women kind of almost equally. And so that's what the whole scale is. So there's this whole blend in the middle. Other couple of interesting facts that the Kinsey study came out with. One was that take these numbers as they are, but that of the people he studied, 37% of men and 13% of women had been brought to orgasm at least one time by a member of the same sex. Okay. Meaning that they were displaying at least a teensy-weensy bit of bisexuality. They were in the 1 to 5 scale, rather than a 0 or a 6. Okay, so they're in the bisexual to homosexual scale, so they're a 1 to a 6 actually. Because I can't imagine a person who's like myself, who's a 0, and yes, I'm a 0. I'm just kidding. But I know I am completely straight. I am a very staunch LGBTQ plus advocate and ally and everything else. But yep, I'm about as vanilla straight as they get. It's who I am, it's how I was born. I don't have a choice in it any more than Adam Lambert has a choice of being gay and really liking boys. So, it is what it is. But what bothers me is that people who are in the middle of that spectrum, who are truly bisexual, and truly like both genders, that they are actually attacked by both homosexual and heterosexual people. The homosexual people are like, look, you're giving gay people bad names. Come over to our side or stay over on their side, whatever. Stop making people think that we actually have a choice in being gay. And the people who are on either side who are saying this kind of stuff, because there are people on the heterosexual side who are saying, see, you guys do have a choice. You're bisexual and not gay, and just choose women instead, or just choose men instead, or whatever. And it's like, no, people aren't getting the point. You can't choose to be born straight, gay, or bisexual. Like if you're born bisexual, you don't have a choice in terms of being born bisexual any more than you have a choice of being gay or being straight. You're born the way you are. It's just that if you are born bisexual, you do have more choices. You can, if you're a bisexual who prefers monogamous relationships, you ultimately end up having to kind of make a choice. Like, do I want to be with boys or girls? And, ultimately it's just like whoever you fall in love with. In the past, obviously bisexuals probably tried to pass themselves as straight because they could, and they only focused on the opposite gender because it was what was accepted in society. Things, obviously, social mores and everything are changing now, and so more and more bisexuals are able to explore their sexualities and explore themselves and try to learn to accept who they are as people, and just allow themselves to fall in love with the right person, not just the right gender, whatever that may be. And so I think that's a wonderful thing. And it opens itself up to, discussions of polyamory, because, okay, I would say the majority of people are monogamous or want to be monogamous, or believe in monogamy, but there is also the whole polyamory side of things, and bisexual people are they lend themselves better to a polyamorous situation than a completely straight or completely gay person could. Although you can have a polyamorous relationship with 3 or more gay people, I'm assuming that can work. It's infinitely more complicated to have a relationship with more than 2 people. 2 people is complicated enough. Yeah, throw a third person in there and it can go all sorts of wonky. But at the same time, I've actually known people. I actually have friends who are polyamorous, and there's one foursome. It's like 2 men, 2 women, and all 4 of them are actually bisexual, and they've been a family unit, for lack of a better term, for over 20 years, happily. Yes, of course they have fights, yes, they have disagreements, whatever. And the 2 men are each married to one of the women and stuff, so that they can have the marriage stuff, but all 4 of them live together, and they have a nice house, they all have good jobs. Yes, they have children. No, the children are not corrupted or evil or whatever, and they're quite normal, and they may not get into a polyamorous situation at all. And for anyone out there who criticizes, gay people for adopting kids or using surrogates to have kids, or bisexuals or transgender or anybody like that to have kids, and they're you're corrupting these poor children, you're hurting them. It's like, no, they're not. The number one thing a child needs growing up, besides the basic necessities of food and clothing, shelter, education, is love. If a child is raised in a loving environment, the child is not being harmed, okay? If there's no abuse happening, physical abuse, just because they happen to see daddy kissing daddy, that is not abuse of a child. They're seeing 2 people who are in love with each other. That is not abuse, that is not wrong, and they just, the worst thing that's going to happen is they grow up being more tolerant, which I think that's the number one thing that bothers the intolerant in our society, is that, oh my gosh, these children are going to grow up to be tolerant of this behavior. Oh, heaven forbid that, whatever. But getting back to the original point of and the BiErasure is a term I heard on one of the reaction videos to Shane's video, done by a YouTuber who himself is bisexual and has had to deal with a lot of this problems with self-acceptance and acceptance from the LGBTQ community, as well as, you know, in the acceptance of the straight community as well. It's like, you know, like he's getting it from all sides, like, you know, just make up your mind already, you know, figure out who you are and stuff. And you know what, if a person figures out that they're bisexual, that's what they are, and stop trying to relabel them. Oh no, you're lying, you're really gay or whatever. It's like, no, they're not. They're bisexual. They're if they say, you know what, honestly, I am physically attracted to both boobs and penises, then you know what? They mean it. I mean, why would someone actually say that they're attracted to both if they're not? You know, that's kind of silly. I know for an absolute fact that I do not find anything arousing in the female form. I've thought a lot about it. Part of me has wished that I was at least bisexual, because I know my husband would like that. But that's neither here nor there. Lots of guys have fantasies of girls kissing and all this stuff. And, you know, on that topic, I actually think two cute guys kissing is kind of hot myself. So, be that as it may, you know, I have no attraction to females, but I have no doubt, and I have, like I said, I have, you know, I have polyamorous friends, but I also have bisexual friends. When they tell me that they are attracted to both men and women, and not to mention the fact that I've seen them flirt with both genders, it's like, you know what, I absolutely believe them that they really are bisexual. I'm not gonna say, oh, well, you just flirted with a guy, and you're a guy, so you're gay. Like, no. Because last week you were, you know, flirting with the blonde chick over there. So bisexuality exists. Stop trying to demonize it from both sides. I mean, I just, especially coming from people who are on the gay community, who are demonizing bisexuals. Come on, you guys, you should know better. I mean, considering how much you've fought for your freedoms and equality and acceptance in society, to turn around and be not accepting of another sexuality is kind of hypocritical. So I know not all gay people are like that at all, but there are a few. I have seen comments, I have heard comments from people, and it's like, you know what, just get a hold of yourself and stop being a hypocrite, because it's bad enough coming from the straight community. We don't need it coming from the LGBTQ community either. It's like, come on guys, really? Anyway, so that's basically what I had to say today, is like, you know, let's all just learn to love each other and accept each other for who we are. And, you know, if someone says that they are a certain sexuality, you know, that's just, it's who they are. It's not necessarily a label as much as it's just an expression of, you know what, it's a word to describe who they are inside. And, you know, you love who you love, and that's all there is to it. And anyway, thank you so much for listening to me ramble yet again. I love comments, so if you want to comment, please give me a comment, thumbs up, etc., all that good stuff, and I will try and make another video sometime soon. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.